Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 337. We take a look at Superman, Hell on Earth. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim Connell of the Whatnot Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
And I mean that in an affectionate way.
You know what? I take that as a compliment. I wear con as a badge of honor.
All right. You go ahead and keep on doing that. I'll get you a sneeze guard for that, too. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. Sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, seeing as we're talking the Superman books this episode, I want to shout out Action Comics with issue number 18. The new creative team's going to be coming out. It's writer Andy Diggle and artist Tony Daniel. And Superman Battles Orion. That's issue number 18. It's regularly $3.99, 40% off, only $2.39. I want to remind everyone that DCB Service is a digital partner. And what that means is if you do any of your digital purchases from iVerse or from Comixology, you get 5% of those purchases towards your DCB Service order. Doesn't cost anything more to do that, and it's a great way to support them. Please go to our website, click on the links, and head on over to their site to do your ordering. I think it's really a great way to support a supporter of our podcast and many other podcasts. Over at InStockTrades.com, they're offering this really cool New Year's resolution special. It's 45% off DC Comics at InStock Trades. So it's a great way to get some amazing deals. But not only do they have those 45% off offers, remember we talked about that Fables, Cubs, and Toyland storyline? We had Bill Willingham join us. Volume 18 of the trade paperback collection, Cubs and Toyland's out. It's 50% off, only $8.49. So if anybody listening either hasn't had a chance to listen to that episode yet and wants to read it first, or listen to the episode and like, hey, I'd really love to finally sit down and read that, you can pick that up for $8.49. I think that's really cool. They have Saga, 40% off. This is this is a great series. It's by Brian K. Vaughan. It's 40% off, only $5.99. I mean, you can really get a lot of material at some incredible discounts when you're spending 40, 45, 50% off on trade paperbacks and hardcovers. So I want to encourage everyone to go visit InStockTrades.com and go do some shopping because it's a great way to save some money. And I want to thank both websites for continuing to sponsor our show. Oh, James, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on the show. So, if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Did that hurt? Let's talk some comics.
Raging Bullets podcast. You like comics, you like free, you like us.
Jim, I want to talk casually, and this is one that we're going to be jumping into that Hell on Earth crossover that's going on in Superman right now. But in a geeky sense, I really wanted to talk about Earth 2, issue number 8. So this is going to be kind of speeding bullet style where we chat about it. The introduction of Fury. I just thought this was really great because Steppenwolf's been kind of this enigma hanging over the series since the launch. You know, with this idea that he was going toe-to-toe during the whole Apocalypse incidents with the original Trinity from this world. And now seeing Fury introduced and who this character is was a big deal. It's Wonder Woman's daughter. I mean, let's just throw it out there because you're not going to talk about this. And I told you, I said, dude, you really got to read this issue because it's great. What are you thinking about this issue, and what do you think about the series in general? How is this one for you?
Well, first off, what I'm thinking about this particular issue, it's, seeing Steppenwolf, first thing that does pop into mind is he's born to be wild. Had to be said, but
no.
You're like, no, it didn't. Yes, it did. Yes, it did have to be said. Hey, at least I didn't sing it. Yeah, so there's a plus for you. But I really like this variation of him, this version of him, because I've only read a couple issues with Steppenwolf, and I always thought the character was kind of cool, but he seemed to have that kind of creepy apocalyptic feel that a lot of those characters have. Whereas this guy, he comes across to me as a conqueror. He comes across to me as just really, nasty-ass warrior. And I like that variation. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like the creepy apocalyptic styling and, the fact that they got a little bit of sinister, a lot of sinister in them. But there was just something about this, he kind of resonated, and I was like, this is a really cool villain. This is a powerful villain. This is somebody I can see throwing down with the Trinity. So I really like just the way he was presented. He had a regal quality to him. He had a conqueror feel to him. So this was a great just introduction, let you know right off the bat, this is somebody not to mess with. Now, as an overall statement of the series, I'm loving this series. This is just an absolute enjoyment on me to read, and just constantly, it's visually pleasing. Its stories are incredible. This is a fires on all cylinders.
I love the pacing. Because for me, what's cool about this is, it's what I'm liking about Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm a big fan of Ultimate Spider-Man over at Marvel. And I feel like with Ultimate Spider-Man, when we got introduced to Miles, it was like this real-time story where, each issue, he's learning about his powers. He's learning that he in fact could be Spider-Man. And we got to see this, pace of him discovering new things about himself. How it applies to this series is we're seeing this team develop in kind of real time. I mean, not exactly, but I mean, it's definitely, the pacing is a little bit more stretched out. What I love about it, though, is there's a lot of depth to each issue on focusing on introduction of characters, their motivations, their backstory, and also the way they interact with each other. Like, when this team eventually does come together, and it's funny, this is an issue where the JSA isn't actually in it. It's all, it's all about Steppenwolf and Fury, Wonder Woman's daughter, and that revelation of who she is. Fury has a deep history in the DC universe, because this is, I don't know if it's going to be Lyta or Lita. I never was always clear on how to pronounce her name. Hall, who is Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman's daughter in Earth 2. I don't know if they're going that route with her, that's who the dad's going to be, but that character was Fury. So that character it was the blonde. You probably have seen her before in some of your JSA reading. I don't know, were you familiar with that character at all?
No, I actually had no idea this was, because that was something I was going to ask you is, have they done this with the Wonder Woman's daughter? Do we know who the dad is and stuff like that? That was going to be a question I was going to ask you. So I had no idea that they had done this before with her being the daughter of Wonder Woman.
Now, I don't know that this is the same one. I mean, obviously, it harkens back to that, especially with the name Fury and the fact that it's Wonder Woman's daughter. So I don't know if it's going to be her, but if it is, I think that's super cool. I'm very into the whole thing. So I like how in this Earth 2, we're seeing characters like the original Mr. Terrific being a big bad in this universe. That's something I like, because it's just an interesting twist. So I'm always interested when they're introducing new characters. I know that they've been in some of the teasers. It looks like we're going to be getting a Dr. Fate down the road.
Yeah.
And I love Dr. Fate, so I'm very cool with that. I'd love to see, though, I was chatting with Jack online, one of our listeners, and he mentioned that Dr. Midnight is a blind DC character. Remember we were talking about, is there a standout blind DC character? And that goes all the way. Rich history of that character. That character predates Daredevil. Yeah. But I totally forgot that one. And I love the JSA, so shame on me. But that's a character that hasn't been introduced in the new DCU. So I'd love to see a Dr. Midnight. A lot of characters yet that I'd like to see introduced. But what I like is they're picking and choosing characters. They're introducing them gradually. I love the introducing of Adam. How because he's a government operative, he's hunting some of these metas, and I love how that's his edict. And even when they're helping him and they team up together, he has to fight with that edict. And when the convenience of that relationship, that partnership, wears off, he's right back to chasing after them again. I love that he turns into the big huge Atom Smasher size. It's a great nod to what I've always loved in the JSA comics, and I really like that this is a team that isn't instantly going to be gelling together. They don't have a template of, their template is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but they were the Trinity. It was the three of them. So they don't have this template of a Justice League or something to build for them. They have to be the first heroes that come together. And I love that not everybody wants to be on the team, especially Green Lantern.
Yeah.
I think it's just a really neat introduction. And are you at all disappointed that they're not a team yet?
Oh God, no, no. This is a nice build. They're taking their time with it. It's as the story goes on, we're seeing more and more of the team. We're seeing more of them come together. There's going to be a definite reason for them to start gelling together, and I know it's going to happen. So it's we're going to get it. It's going to eventually happen, but take your time, build these characters. This is a prime example of a great issue. Introduction of Steppenwolf, introduction of Fury, set the groundwork for a possible future bad that could bring the team together. Steppenwolf trying to invade and conquer the world would definitely be something that'll bring these heroes together. Who knows, maybe that's the final gelling piece. Maybe the rogue Mr. Terrific is the gelling piece. Who knows where it's going to come through, but it's out there. It's going to come eventually, and as long as they keep advancing the story, as long as they keep telling us a little bit more about this world, I'm very happy.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily want every comic to have the same storytelling and pacing style. And with this being set in its own world, the events that are going on here do not have to be driven by anything going on in the main DC universe. So it really is a lot of creative freedom for James Robinson to kind of just gradually build and craft a mythos here. This really has its own rich history. I like that there's legacies, with Wonder Woman's daughter being brought in. I'm very torn on where I want to see that character go, because I do think there's something interesting about her being a villain in this piece. I want to know how that happened. I like that it's not immediately jumping into that. We've got the little bits that Steppenwolf has told us, but we don't have the complete story yet. And that's something that I'm really finding interesting about this title. For as much focus as there's been on introducing the characters and giving us a background to them and give us a strong feel for them, there's still so much to tell. A lot of history of this world to really flesh out and evolve as time goes on. And that's something that I'm really finding engaging.
And actually, let me clarify something. If they don't bring the JSA together, if they keep going through this, I'm not going to be actually that disappointed if we keep getting good stories about this. If we keep getting these adventures, we get them come together for a little bit, then they go their separate ways. We get a story of, a Flash story. We get a Green Lantern story. I would be actually okay with this because this is really Earth 2 is the title. This isn't JSA. This is a title about this world, so as long as they keep telling us the stories about the world, as long as they keep advancing the characters and advancing the heroes, they could jump around and use the different characters at different times. I would be okay with that. It's, for me, the fact that they are focusing on developing the whole world is, something kind of neat and something different. So for me, I think we're all right as we're going along. Now, I personally would like to see them actually be a JSA because I like those superhero moments. I like those dun-dun-dun moments where we're a team. Let's take them down. Those are stuff I enjoy in a comic, so that's why I'd like to see it. But if it never really happens, I don't think I'll be that disappointed.
Their team-up was that. I really liked how when they did team up in those sequences and they had to guard Green Lantern's body, I really like how protective Jay was of him. And was sticking to... these are people who really had just become quickly comrades at arms on the battlefield. They aren't friends. And I liked Hawkgirl and Jay, saying, hey, this is the way the world is right now. We really need to band together and become a team. And even though Green Lantern wasn't going for it, I liked their thinking. You made an interesting point. I guess I'm under the assumption, and obviously we both are, that they're eventually going to become a team, that they're eventually going to become the JSA. But that isn't set in stone. It isn't set in stone that they have to become the JSA. They could become another team. So it's interesting how you're mentioning that. This could really be just a fleshing out of this world. It is called Earth 2. And I guess I'm very focused on that this is JSA, not Earth 2, but you're right, there is an interesting point when the title is Earth 2. I think they're going to become a team, right?
I'm assuming it's going to happen. I really do think it's going to happen because they've laid some really good groundworks for the development of the team. They've brought them together, kind of put them apart, and now they keep introducing these plot elements to bring them together. And so I'm assuming eventually they'll latch on and become a solid, cohesive unit. And they'll actually become the JSA, or they'll call themselves something else. I'm not sure what name they'll go with. My guess is whatever I know that it's had multiple names and variations and, squadrons and this and that and whatnot, and I'm not exactly 100% certain on JSA lore and legend and history. So, but part of me thinks we're going to get an old school reference on the name, not JSA. I think we're going to get something different.
Well, that was the original name.
What?
JSA.
Didn't they have some squadron or
the All-Star
something
Squadron was afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So they were the JSA first.
Yeah, see, I always thought All-Star Squadron was like the original name back in Silver Age.
No. All-Star Squadron was, 80s?
Huh.
Maybe late 70s? I forget when that series started. 80s, I want to say 80s. Now, I don't know that... wait, let me clarify this. I don't know that the All-Star Squadron name began then. That could have predated that. But I'm almost positive they were always the Justice Society before that. So I don't know. That's an interesting... I forget when the All-Star Squadron name actually started. But I don't know. I would be happy with whatever they called themselves. Just as long as they... I'd like to see them eventually get together. I like the Hawk Girl in this world. I love Kendra. I think she's terrific. Jay, I think, has been great as the Flash.
Yeah.
I really want to see this team continue to develop more of characters. And like you said, it's fun to watch them kind of spotlighted this way. What do you have a preference on Fury? Do you want to see her eventually become one of the good guys, or do you like her in her current role? What we've seen of her right now is, I don't want to say a lackey, because she sure doesn't seem like she is being held... Well, we know she isn't being held against her will.
She's brainwashed and or manipulated, or however you want to word it. Eventually, she's going to get clear of mind, and when that happens, she's going to go, "Hey, this is the guy who killed my mom. I think I'm going to cut him in half now." And I think we're going to see that. We're going to see Fury versus Steppenwolf battle. And we're going to see that moment of, can he take down his own creation? Will she rise up and, take him out? What's going to happen there? There's going to be that battle. I'm as confident as I am of anything that's going to happen in this title. I think we're going to see that moment. And then Fury's going to have an interesting path to go with. Will she go with the path of the heroes? Will she continue a villain? Or will she just say, humanity, forget you, I'm on my own? There's a lot of stuff that could happen with her, and I think that'll lend itself towards some really interesting storytelling. And she could be one of those linchpins why the JSA says we're needed for people like her. We need to help her along. We need to educate her. We need to break this brainwashing that she has. So I'm thinking eventually, down the road, if not, recently, if not sooner, we're going to see her go against Steppenwolf, whether it's her doing a full-on hero turn, a face turn, or whether she goes that gray area.
It's just a terrific book, and I just wanted to shout it out real quick, because I just thought the whole reveal was fantastic. I've been loving the series all along. I want to, down the road, do like a cover-to-cover on one of the issues, coming down, but we've got so much stuff going on this month. I didn't want to wait and not talk about this, because it's a pretty big reveal, and it was something that I just thought was particularly cool in a series that has been one of my favorites since it's come out. I just think every issue's been spot on. I love the pacing. Everything's great.
Yeah, and the visual fight sequences, especially in this issue, are just absolutely wonderful. She drops a tank on a guy. You gotta love when, he's cutting people in half. She's wrapping them up and using them as, weapon, using the physical bodies. There's a couple scenes where she's beating up their own people with the minions, and you gotta love that. And I'm serious. She dropped the tank on a guy. How awesome!
But didn't she use her lasso thing? Her whip to do that?
Yeah.
But I liked too when she was using, because it reminded me of Bam Bam from the Flintstones. Yeah. She did a Bam Bam on him. Bam Bam. Because didn't Bam Bam used to do that? Pick people up and
yeah, use them as use their body as a club. Yeah.
It seemed a lot less threatening when Bam Bam did it.
Well, he wasn't, killing people while doing it. He was just beating people up, or just being the little kid with superhuman strength.
Can we talk a little bit about Superboy number 14? And start kicking off this conversation? Because
yeah.
Are you pronouncing it H-L? Or how are you doing this?
I'm just saying hell.
Okay. because I wasn't sure with the way that it's with the
hell. I'm like, forget it. I'm just going easy and just saying hell.
Okay. Tom DeFalco's the writer. R.B. Silva's on pencils. Rob Lean inks. Tanya and Richard Horry on colors. Travis Lanham letterer. Chris Conroy editor. R.B. Silva and Rob Lean with hi-fi on the covers. I got to tell you, one of the things I'm really loving about the Superboy story, especially when we get interactions with him and with Supergirl and with Superman, in recent years, anytime cloning's come up, there's been that question of ethics. And there's a certain creep factor to the idea that they could take your DNA and create a clone of you. That's like, it's not like they're creating your kid. They're actually replicating you. And that's, the question is, like, how much of me is it? Obviously it's not going to be memories and things, but, like, it's still, they're taking and making me. And there's an interesting creep factor to the whole thing that I love how it plays out in this. You take into the fact, though, the Kryptonian history of these clones going rogue, like that Zero issue. I love that Zero issue has set a whole template for why Con-El is Abomination. I think that was something that was really clever that they put into this series, and I really have enjoyed that aspect of it. Because he doesn't know this, but Supergirl does. She knows that history. And he doesn't know, like, why he has these feelings when it comes to Superman of standoffishness and almost queasy feelings because of what's been done to his head by Harvest. And that's something that I'm really just loving about all this, is that rich history. Now, the DNA for him, have we determined that yet? Like, we know it's Superman's because of the shield.
Yeah.
But did they say there was 3 types of DNA? Did I read that right, or is it 2?
Well, they said 3 types. And when Hell was breaking him down and they were looking and studying him. So there's the Kryptonian, there's the human, which I'm still assuming is Lex Luthor.
Me too. And
then there's a 3rd type. And it's that 3rd type that's the mystery, that I'm like, okay, what's this now? It could be, one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking 3rd type, it could be the fact that he is his own entity now. By the combination, by his own, he's not a clone. He is his own race now. By having the Kryptonian and human DNA mixed, there's this 3rd type which is unique to him and him alone. So in a way, he's not a clone anymore. He is his own entity. He is his own creature. He is his own race. He's got commonalities with humans. He's got commonality with Kryptonians, but he is not either. He is something else. He's an X factor.
It'd be funny if it was rabbit DNA. You see him into certain issues eating lots of lettuce, and then tapping his foot really fast.
I'm Thumper.
Yeah, the clues were all there. This was carefully crafted out, laid back at the beginning of the series. I don't know. I find him fascinating. And he was really one of those characters during the relaunch I was worried about. Now you've got this guy who I didn't know what to think of him. Like, I was wondering if he might be Bizarro or what else is going on with him, this Hell guy. It's really interesting how he immediately takes control of Superboy, knows how to shut him down. And, I mean, that would be creepy. If somebody can pick you up and basically shut you off when you're carrying that kind of power. Like, Superboy's used to having power, and being in control of situations. Even when the odds are overwhelmingly against him. This guy shut him down like nothing. Which makes me wonder what his story is. Because it doesn't seem to me, like, I know that, like, we've got Supergirl, who definitely is more powerful than Superman because of her age or whatever. Doesn't that seem to still be sort of in canon? That she's a little bit more powerful?
Yeah. But she's got a little bit more speed, a little bit, maybe even a little bit more strength because of, I'm assuming when her dad sent her to Earth, he was augmenting her in the capsule, whereas, Jor-El wasn't doing that to baby Kal-El.
So my question is with this guy, what is his deal? Is he what he seems to be, or is there something else to him? Like, I almost wonder if he's really the guy that he says he is. Because he has gaps in his memories, right? Or he's, I should say, quote unquote, he's saying he does.
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe with him anymore. So I haven't quite got a handle on him. I'm finding him a fascinating villain, though. This is really how you introduce a new character. Like, I almost don't want him to be Bizarro now. Not almost. I really don't want him to be Bizarro now, because I like the originality of him. Like, there's something. I don't want him to be the Eradicator. I don't like. He doesn't need to be anybody other than who he is. And I want to continue to see his development. I don't know if you agree with me on that. You don't have to. But that's kind of, I've kind of really changed. Like, I've been trying to discover, like, oh, is he somebody from Superman's past that we don't know? I kind of like the idea that he might not be, and that he's somebody original that's being introduced to add to the Rogues Gallery. But that's just kind of my take on it. I don't know where you're at.
Oh, no, we're both on the same page there. When people first were throwing out a possibility, this is the new 52 version of Bizarro, I was like, oh, that'd be kind of neat, different take on it. But I really don't want that. I want Hell to be, Hell. I want him to be his own character, his own, origin, his own life essence, and just see where he goes with this. When everything's said and done, I hope they don't get rid of him. I hope they don't defeat him. I hope he's still around somehow, because he's a great character, and have him pop in. But there's so many mysteries about him. I really do want these mysteries solved. So when this whole story arc is done, I'm hoping we get the true backstory, and we learn this stuff about him. But whenever you get these interesting characters, a lot of times they hold back a little bit. They keep the mystery out there just to keep things going. It makes you wonder. But he's one of those characters where, just like with the heroes, I really want to know his story. I want to know the truth. Whether Clark and Kara and and Connor find out about it is a whole nother story, but I hope we, the readers, actually find out the truth, because I have theories in my head, but they dance around, and it's kind of like it's a flighty theory, because part of me is like, the story he's telling is complete bunk. Then I'm like, wait, maybe it's not complete bunk. Maybe he's a clone of this person who he says he is.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Then I was like, well, maybe not a clone. Maybe he's a clone of this, or maybe he's a clone of that. And it's just, I keep going through different stuff, different ideas. I don't think he's going to end up being the Eradicator, and I don't think he's going to end up being Bizarro. I think those are going to be different characters, different people down the road that'll be introduced. I really do think he's going to be an independent, separate entity, a brand new creation for the new 52. But my front-running right now theory is he is a clone of the characters, of the person that he claims to be. And throughout the process of the science, the space travel experiments, he got augmented somehow. Whether it was intentional augmentation or accidental or whatnot, I'm not sure. And that's why he's got different power levels than Clark does.
Yeah, or maybe he was cloned with rabbit DNA. I don't know. Yeah. One of the things that I really am enjoying about that character is it's an open possibility, because I'm with you on the clone thing, so this isn't disputing at all. That's a big part of me that's thinking that's a possibility. The other part, though, is what if, like, his entire story is off? That to me is interesting as well. Like, what if he really wasn't associated with Jor-El on any level? And that fascinates me. And then the part is, what if he's entirely truthful?
Yeah.
Except for, obviously, when he turned on Supergirl. But, I mean, what if his whole backstory is the truth, and he's really telling everything that happened to him? I don't know. And he went through some trauma along the way. Like, I want to fill in those missing years for him and see what happened. I'm leaning a lot more towards the clone idea, though, that he's not really either who he says he is or who he thinks he is.
Right.
And it's the gaps in the memory thing. I don't think that's a throwaway, and I don't think it was him covering for himself. I think there's genuine gaps there.
And that's the other fascinating side of it. He could be a clone and not realize he's a clone. And I would love to see his reaction, because he's got such a vile hatred towards the clones, especially Superboy. He really doesn't like the kid, and which does kind of surprise me a little bit, because with Superboy being as being a teenish, being a child, and they do say hell is for children. So I could see those two. I actually could have seen them getting along a little bit better.
I like the Teen Titans use in this. And I love that it acknowledges everything that's gone on in the Teen Titans series. It's one of the things that I've liked about the close relationship with this book and the Teen Titans with Ravagers. I've really liked this little teen world that's been crafted by DC. And I like that we had that like spotlight issue with Wonder Girl's armor, with Superboy, and with Robin. Because it was nice to see who I consider to be, you know, some of the figurehead characters in my view of Teen Titans start to gel together in this. And Wonder Girl, even though she says that she doesn't care about him and all these type of things, I like that when he's being tortured, her first reaction is, my God, you know, you just redefined sick and twisted, and she jumps immediately to his defense. I really liked how that sequence played out because I think it's very true to who they are as a team right now. Because I'm really digging that book a great deal. So seeing that all flesh into this, it would make sense that they would be pulled in. And they're a team right now that's got two of their major players involved in two major storylines, two major things that are clearly going on at the same time. And I like that continuity in this whole thing. You know, that what's going on with Red Robin right now is not being ignored by what's going on here. So it's a team that's got less members. Wonder Girl's really left to take over the lead role right now in guiding all this. And their teams having discussions. How comfortable would you be knowing Superboy's background of being this clone, having him move in with you, knowing his destructive capabilities, knowing that there's certain things that have been, you know, rumored things. I would imagine they know, you know, to a pretty heavy extent, or have heard what happened with the Legion, right?
Well, he finds Miguel's the first one who finds out about it right here and now. Mm-hmm. Because the others weren't there in Arizona when everything was, you know, going down and all the craziness was happening there. So it's, you know, right. It's he's actually one of those great characters that in this the great interactions that we're seeing with Superboy and just the Teen Titans and just everything that's playing out there. That's something that I'm really digging about this title, and just who the, you know, it's a support character, but he's a support character, also a member of the Teen Titans. It's that whole team camaraderie and that growth and birth of a true team. We're seeing that play out here where they're saying, hey, we're taking these chances because, you know, it's the right thing to do. You see Wonder Girl jump into the battle, even though she says she doesn't like him, which I think she's starting to dig him. You know, I think that was kind of her defensive mechanism, protecting herself. But there is not the best of relationship there, but I think it's the growth and the birth of the relationship between the two of them. But you see these this character and this team truly forming, and it's something that has been absolutely a wonderful thing. That, you know, I'm getting a solid Teen Titan book, I'm getting a solid Superboy book, I'm getting these crossovers and these inter-character interactions that are playing out nicely, and it's something that I'm really enjoying about this universal feel.
Yeah, and let me clarify what I was saying. It wasn't that I felt like they knew exactly what happened to him the way Bunker did from the discussion that he had with Bunker. With today's media, and this is a book that clearly takes place today, they would have known from the news that this guy went berserk, right? I mean, that wouldn't have been... I mean, that's going to be on television. So
I thought they had a full media blackout.
The Legion?
I'm remembering something from the Legion and just from the government agencies and the entities. They did a full media blackout on that one. Maybe Red Robin would eventually find out because he's Red Robin and he's super cool. But I think the everyday average person probably wouldn't know what happened in Arizona.
And you're right. I think the Legion's been going out of their way to keep their tracks covered so they don't mess with time.
Right.
So I'm glad you said that. So no, that is, I guess you're changing my mind on this. I'm glad we're talking about this because it was something I've been speculating on this and wondering, like, who knows what. And I guess what he revealed to Bunker is the amount that's been revealed right now then, which I think is kind of cool. What do you think of Bunker? I know he's not a Superboy book character, but seeing as we're talking about the Teen Titans, he's a character who at first I thought he was real cheesy. Like the powers and everything. Yeah. I wasn't like super into him. But as we're getting to know the character more now, I'm really starting to like him as a character. Like as he's developed, I'd like to see him like lose a little bit of the cheese factor and become a little bit more of a power player than he is right now. But I'm I'm liking getting to know him as a guy in the book. I think he's an interesting character. So I think he's actually the character outside of the mask is more interesting than the guy in the mask, if that makes any sense.
Hey, I'm going to disagree with you on something you just said. I hope he doesn't lose any of the cheese factor. I love that about this character.
Okay.
Again, it's that whole very realistic feel where this guy wants to be the superhero. This guy is thrust into this, and it's kind of reminiscent to me of the Peter Parker nervousness. So he's gonna throw out the little jokes. He's gonna kind of be a little bit goofy because I think he's kind of covering and putting up some defense mechanisms for himself to dealing with this stuff. But you get those true moments where they're sitting down and saying, "Dude, man, you just got to open up with somebody. I'm here for you." You get those moments where you see the true person, and then when he's in the costume, he's a little uncomfortable with what he's doing, so he's going to be a little bit on the goofy side. I loved seeing that, and especially love the fact that, what's he do? He calls for backup. Very free. He recognizes, I'm in way over my head. I need to get the team here. Throws out the big giant T with the blocks. I cheered for that moment just because right here shows responsibility, shows maturity, and shows intelligence, plus also shows this kid recognizes, I need help here. This is something I can't do alone. Hey guys, let's help here. I thought that was just a great sequence.
I actually steal one of your things. I think they're a very reluctant team, but when the chips are down, they're not. Yeah. And one of the things I've always liked about the Teen Titans is desperate situations keep pulling the team together. And I think that's been part of their history. It's something that, what did I always love about the Wolfman and Perez era? They were a team that were constantly impressed that they were overcoming overwhelming odds and overwhelming circumstances. And this is one of those situations. And I'm not saying I dislike Bunker. Like, here's one of my favorite lines from Bunker. It was right at the end of the issue. We already lost one of our own. We lost it when Skinner disappeared. We're not losing another member of this team. When he steps up in those moments, I guess that's the guy that I'm starting to really like and connect with. I'm not against one-liners and stuff. I don't want you to think that that's what I'm saying. It's more of, I can't explain it. It's like the power set or something. Like, I want him to feel, and maybe it is what you're saying. We've got this character who is very new and very green. And I'm fine with that. I want to see him continue to develop. And I guess the best comparison I would go to is in the X-Men, Kitty Pryde, when she first started on the team when she was Sprite. Like, she felt like she wasn't quite the same caliber. And I liked that part. I liked seeing this character develop over time. But now as Shadowcat, and, continuing on, as she's gotten older, she's become a wily veteran. She is definitely a member of the team who's been through the ringer. And, there's a difference between her and a newbie. I want to see Bunker develop into that guy who loses some of the rough edges and becomes a member of the team the way that a Beast Boy was back in the classic days. Still got the one-liner, still has the personality. I don't want to lose the guy that we're seeing outside the mask, because as I said, I really like the guy outside of the mask. It's when he's in the costume, I want him to feel more. I want to see him develop more into the confident hero. I don't want to see that quick, though. I want to see the development there.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't want to make it seem like I don't like the character. I guess what I'm saying is it's a character who at first I didn't know how to feel about, I didn't really care about, I didn't really like, and I'm starting to like him. I'm starting to care about his development. So I'm complimenting the character. It's not a bad thing that I'm saying. If you'd asked me when the series first started in the first few issues, what do I feel about Bunker? I wouldn't have had a lot to say. Now I'm starting to care. And that's where the switch is. Like, I'm rooting for the guy like you would root for a friend. Like, dude, you're a member of the Titans. Let's get it together. The more I'm seeing that from him, like, your backup thing, I'm 100% agreeing with. I loved that he threw up the T. That felt like a veteran move. It felt like he knew that these were people he could rely on to be there. This is more of what I want to see from him. So the things you were geeking out about were exactly what I like about him. I love that he's a character now that doesn't feel like background noise to me. I see him more in the foreground. And I want to continue seeing that development with him, and I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'll actually agree with that statement because I do want to see maturity. I do want to see just a level of, the Beast Boy reference I think was a very good one. I want to see Beast Boy still had that fun quality to him, but there was a veteran there. There was somebody who, you could count on. He knew what he was doing while when it hits the fan, and that's something I do see coming from Bunker. I do see him going that route just because he's one of the characters on this team that everybody is really starting to trust, and everybody's looking to him as somebody that I can depend on. He's going to be that glue of this team, and unfortunately that is a scary notion because a lot of times the person who's the glue of a superhero team also is the one who has the biggest target on their back because it has a dramatic moment when the glue dies. So I hope he's not the first statue that they create for Fallen Teen Titans. I hope we don't get that out of this guy because I absolutely love this character and I see a lot of just great future and potential in him as a recognized hero, as somebody who is, somebody that non-Teen Titans will look to recognize and say, okay, this kid knows what he's doing.
They did a good job on this team with putting on people that you needed to expect. Like, you needed Superboy, you needed Red Robin, you needed Wonder Girl, you need Kid Flash. I mean, you need some of these kids that we recognize, the ones you want to have there. I know we got Raven coming up. So you got these big names, but, like, Solstice was a creation that was right before the New 52 switch, and I'm glad they brought in Solstice again. And this Bunker, like some of the newer characters, like I like that. I like a nice balance of both. Nothing wrong with introducing new characters. You can always bring in old favorites too, and do a nice kind of, expand the universe while at the same time bringing in some of the characters that we all want to see. And I like that they took some of the Teen Titans characters like Beast Boy and Terra, from past history and put them on Ravagers. Good move. So what they're doing right now, I'm really liking. I'm glad that they've got these characters in there, some of my favorites. There's certainly more that I'd love to see down the line, but there's opportunities to use them then. And so Bunker's a character, like, it's funny, if you'd asked me, like, I'm going to say it again, you asked me the first few issues, he's a character I was kind of, I don't know. I'm not really sold on him. He's growing. He's really growing on me. And it is the sequences out of the costume, and I think that's really what I wanted to say. Those are the sequences that I care about him more. I'm starting to get into the guy when they hang, because I like that. I like when you see heroes, that to me that's the thing in a team book. They rarely have time to do it, but when they do it, you can have these emotional moments where the one person's able to reveal something to the other and really open up, and I just think that that's something that's really neat about it. As we start looking onto Supergirl, Mike Johnson's the writer, Mohammed Asrar, A-S-R-A-R, and I apologize, Dave McCaig, colorist, Rob Lay, letterer, and Asrar McCaig on the cover, Will Moss, editor, and I want to apologize again for any name butchery there because Supergirl's on issue 14, and we're going to talk about 14 and 15. We'll talk about it a little later. This is a book from issue 1. I was very worried about it because I was, not sure. I was a big fan of what Jamal Igo was doing with Sterling Gates. Sterling Gates is currently writing the very cool Smallville title. They created, to me, a run that was exactly what I want from Supergirl storytelling. So this was a character I was very worried about in the shift with them restarting it. I love the idea that they're focusing so heavily on, this is the girl who actually lived on Krypton. Her whole world she had a history of. She had friends. She lived like a teenager would on that world. She's upset about the destruction of her world, but she's not unlikable. And I think that's something I'm really glad that they didn't go back to, because she's a character who, to me, as we've started to see her fit into this world, her relationship with Cal, not knowing if it's really her cousin, of course, everything would be suspect. She's got nobody to rely on. This was an infant when she last saw him. This is a very little baby. And now she's got to take it that this adult is her long-lost cousin. Well, not long-lost, her cousin that she saw very recently for her during her time. And her whole world was destroyed. She would be in a very questionable place with Hell. And he knows that and can manipulate that. And there is that part of me that wonders if he's really being manipulative or if he's really seeing that person to connect with who will see things his way. I get why he wanted to divide her from Superman. I like what he's doing with that because it makes a whole lot of sense to me. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but I can't help but talk about what I'm really enjoying about this character and how she was the one that seems to start connecting with him. Because this would be the first one that gets it about the feeling about home. Clark wasn't there. He doesn't have those feelings. She totally feels that Superboy's an abomination. Now she's finally got that someone who is from her home world. Or she's assuming he is, right?
Yeah. Well, she's now convinced that this is her cousin. She's, and it's been a long process and a lot of scans, especially by her sanctuary, finally gave her that final piece. Yes, this is Kal-El. This is your cousin. So she knows that this is Kal-El, but again, she does look at him as he wasn't raised on Krypton. And I love that every time that she references how he's got that accent, that he didn't actually learn it on there. He learned it through, studying. It's not, he wasn't someone who lived there. And when he teaches, the doctor how to speak Kryptonian, she has that same accent. It's that accent of not a real, true Kryptonian. And it's even something that Hell's able to play on her, saying, you know what? He's been corrupted. He's lived his whole life here. He's not a Kryptonian. He didn't live where we lived. He doesn't know what a true Kryptonian society's like. And he keeps playing off of that. And it's, and actually a very true and real reaction. And it's something I'm digging how he's able to manipulate her. It's not just, oh, come on, you should see this. No, it makes sense that she would go this route. Especially, again, Hell's doing the slow play. He's just, slowly chipping away at taking what her own little concerns and worries and whatnot, and just tweaking them and playing around with them and just manipulating that. It's been an absolute beautiful job that he's done. And throughout the process, I'm not losing any, thing toward Kara. I understand why she's doing it, why she's falling victim. I don't think any less of her. So this is something she's getting played, but I'm not sitting there saying, oh, come on, you should see through that. No, it makes sense that she would get played this way. It makes sense that she wouldn't completely know and trust, Kal-El. It's, it fits who she is. It fits this universe. This is something that I'm really digging about her.
I love her relationship with Silver Banshee.
Yeah.
I love how they went that route where they are friends. I get why they're friends. This is the first person on Earth who can speak to her. And I love that she wants to take her friend to the sanctuary because I really believe that she wants that to happen. I'm hoping that friendship maintains even when she finally finds out that her friend is the Silver Banshee now that she's got a secret. I'm hoping that doesn't ruin the friendship because I find the friendship very interesting. I don't mind if they, fight and all that stuff, but I'd love if, when her friend's able to keep it under control, that they are friends. And because I really like the relationship. I think there's something interesting there. It's just a little bit different.
Well, I think the secret is more of that she's losing control of the Silver Banshee. And I think that's where it's going to get interesting because when Kara finds out that she's lost control of the Banshee, she's going to be put in a situation where I got to take care, I got to put down my friend, but I want to help her. And I think that's going to be a cool hero moment for Kara, that she's like, how do I take down my friend without hurting her? And the other thing, I'm of the opinion that the brother didn't go back to Ireland. Something bad happened to the brother. Either she absorbed the brother in her, or there's something else going on there. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but there's a little deception in that story that she told her.
My unusual appearance is evidence of how long I've been traveling, how far I have come. But I assure you, my allegiance is to the House of El. I do not share the blood of your family, but my devotion to it is as strong as yours. I am an explorer, sent on a mission to the stars by your uncle Jor-El. He was my teacher, my mentor, as much a father to me as he was to his own son. Jor-El sent me away shortly before Krypton's discussion, instructing me to keep to safeguard the accumulated knowledge. Like, he sent this guy on, and I don't want to read the whole thing just because, we'll be doing a read aloud here. That wasn't my point. He's telling his backstory here and building this history that he had with Jor-El where he was sent away to safeguard the knowledge. Does that match Jor-El to you?
No.
Like, I could see Jor-El sending a probe out with that information and knowledge, but wouldn't he, why this guy? Unless it goes back to your... See, I could see Jor-El sending a clone, and could this have been a part of those original experiments? Maybe.
That's where I got my theory on him being a clone, was the fact that, we know in the history that when he first started experimenting in space travel, they were sending clones up there. And the other thing that I noticed, that he and Superboy have very similar type power structures with the kind of the telekinetic, the tactile telekinetic, and it's like he's a supercharged version of Superboy, which kind of again leads to the whole clone thing, because
could he be that Superboy?
Kryptonian clone, whereas Superboy is a diluted Kryptonian clone.
Could he be the one from the Zero issue? Is that possible?
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what his backstory is. I'm definitely interested in the character. The idea of going back to Krypton beforehand and stopping the destruction before it happens, the way that he does it is really important with Kara, where he takes her and shows her Earth at its darkest. And it's really interesting how this guy is really trying to show the absolute worst of Earth instead of showing the good things.
Yeah.
He's not showing people at soup kitchens working to help people out. The good thing, people do good things. You can be glass half empty about our world, or you can be glass half full. There's a lot to detest, but there's also a lot to love. He points out the absolute worst as a way of saying, do these people deserve to live when we could use the inner... he's basically building towards the end game of, we can use the energy from this planet to restore our world. And I don't see Kara, just from what I know about her, I don't see her being the one to destroy a world. Could you do that? Like, let's say our Earth dies, and you're the last survivor. You have a chance to go back in time, but you have to extinguish an entire civilization to do it. Could you do it? And it becomes an interesting... because it's not your people. You know what I mean? So that's... could you do it, Jim?
Right now, where I'm sitting and how I am, I say no, I couldn't. But I'll be honest with you, I could very easily, if I was dropped on a world where, where actually, when I look around and I only see the darkness, I only see the corruption, I only see a vile society. If I'm sitting there saying, you know what, my society was this utopia. It was this great thing, and if I have to eliminate this garbage for paradise, I'm going to get rid of garbage. And I could actually, and it's the interesting thing where I could understand why somebody would do it. I don't think I could personally do it, me right now, here I am, because I think the guilt of the destruction of that society would destroy me. I don't think I could actually handle the consequences and the ramifications of destroying an entire culture and society. But I understand where the guy could be coming from. I understand where somebody could go that route. Now, that's part of the whole deception part I think this guy's got going. I think he's not looking at Earth as this abomination, as this destruction, as this parasite and insanity. He's looking at it as just a means to an end.
Right.
This is the bad guy. This is definitely 100% the villain in the story, where he's not concerned about the death of innocent lives. He's never going to tell Kara that we have to destroy Earth to do it, because I think Kara is a good enough person that she wouldn't do it, even for Krypton. I don't think she could destroy a planet to let it happen. But it's, I love the fact that, I can actually, again, it's part of the thing where I can understand where she's going along with this, where she's, following him and listening to him, because he's painting such a great picture to her.
And she's confused.
Yeah.
I like that she's not immediately in league with him. She's confused. She's hearing him out. And I really like that I can see why she would be doing what she's doing. I liked her relationship with Superboy in this, Like, she's been the one who's been the hardest on him. But when it comes down to seeing this guy who really has no use for him, if she called for his extinction, Superboy would be done, right?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. In a heartbeat. And he, you can really tell Hell wanted her to say, yes, kill him, because that's just further bringing her along to his way of thinking, his plan, his ultimate, his end goal. The more he can get her less like Superman and more like him, the better off he is. That's why he wanted a division from them. So he knows there's no way Superman would say, yes, kill him. He knows that would never happen. If he can get Kara more on his line of thought, more on his way of thinking, he can, it can further on his plan. I love the fact that he was sitting there saying, hey, say the word, he's dead, and it's done, and he left it up to her. And even when she's like, not yet, he's like, oh, okay, I understand. And even though he's like, you can see he wanted to really do it, but he's like, no, I can't force her hand in this. I got to let her say, yes, kill him. That way it's like the whole turning to the dark side of the Force. You got to make him actually reach out and say, do it, unleash your hate. And it was really cool moments, just seeing him play her like this. And even though he didn't get his ultimate end goal yet, he's planted the seeds and he started the turning process. This is something that it's going to be a slow burn. He knows that. He's a patient villain. He's not going to try to rush things, and that's something I'm really digging on him. The other thing I'm absolutely loving is the fact that anytime he's with Kara, you notice how he doesn't have the backwards S on his chest anymore. Mm-hmm. He removes that image, again, doesn't want her having any type of negative connotation directed towards him. Whereas when he's dealing everybody else, he doesn't care. But he's got to portray this image of being, I am loyal to the House of L.
See, the backwards S has me more and more convinced still that he's a clone. Because that goes back to Bizarro.
Yeah.
So that is that part of me that still wonders, is this guy being introduced as this universe's Bizarro? And I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm convinced of that, but and there would be a reason for this guy, if this doesn't pan out, to create his own society.
Yeah, and he could very easily be the Bizarro. He could be this version, this Earth's, this universe's version of Bizarro, which part of me doesn't want that, just because I do like this character. Hell, I like who he is. And I don't want them to go into Bizarro mode with him. But if that's where they're taking this, if that's what this is going to be, okay, fine, we can go with that route. But I hope we don't lose the cool factor behind Hell. I hope we don't lose this intelligent villain who's able to manipulate and play him and just, do his thing with it. Not, I don't want the mindless Bizarro. I don't want that way. I want this character to remain.
Amen. And I agree. And I'm not 100% sold that he is going to be Bizarro. It's the backwards S that throws it in there. Our theories about him being a clone, throw that in there. I don't want that either. But if he was, I would want him to be this guy as Bizarro. I guess that's what I'm saying. I like this guy. He's a good villain. Because you're right, he is an intelligent one. You could see him coming back and having a plan. And I guess I could see him, though, creating a Bizarro world. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And that could be his whole plan all along. He could be wanting to create a world of clones. He could, instead of going to Krypton and saving Krypton, he could be wanting to go there to save the clones and pull them off there and get them on their own planet.
Wait.
Maybe bring them back to Earth. I don't know.
But if he was the clone in the Zero issue, or if he, is somehow associated with that was the original plan.
Yeah.
So what if he's trying to accomplish his original edict, restore Krypton to conquer it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So that's just a thought. I don't know how true it is. Now, we go into Superman number 14, and before we even talk about the creative team, I've got to talk about that cover, because I think it's just plain gorgeous. I really love Kenneth Rocafort being on this book. I just think, and the whole creative team, I think the colors are great. There's just something really special about this book. And this was I've enjoyed Superman since its relaunch, but Superman hasn't been like a top of the stack book for me in the relaunch. Like it's been a book that I think I've been trying to get used to the new version of Superman and things like that. We've had some really gem issues. I go back to that one. Remember when Nicola Scott did that fill-in issue.
Yeah.
Or fill in a couple of issues, and we had that sequence where I remembered vividly. It was a sequence that really sold me on the suit, and it started to grow on me, and I started to see these great, dun-da-da Superman moments with the flying, just the majesty of Superman, and those were some shining moments in this book. So it's not a book that has ever been on the chopping block. It hasn't been a bad book. I've been enjoying it, but I haven't been getting that moment that I really have been looking for in Superman. Now, since Scott Lobdell's taken over on the writing, I think it's finally gotten a stride that there's something happening here, that like really feels like it's having impact on the universe. There's lore being created here that is not just going to be for this storyline. It's going to continue into the future. This book feels like, it doesn't feel like it's second fiddle anymore to Action Comics. It feels just as relevant and important to the character. If anything, I think with this arc right now, it feels like the book now that is the one that has the things going on, where Action has done what its goal was, as far as establishing who Superman's backstory, where he is now, what's changed with the character, and it's continuing to do that, and it's doing it very, very well. I like what's going on over in Action. This book doesn't anymore feel like the second fiddle book. It feels like there's something else going on here that's just as relevant in its own way. I've needed this from this book. And I like now how, because this book has kicked it up, they're building a better relationship between this book and Superboy and Supergirl, and this feels like it's part of a world, and these characters are reacting to each other. I don't know that they could have done this before now. I think you needed that establishment of all of these characters before you could get to this point. So it's worth the journey that we've gotten here. I've liked everything that's come before, but now it feels special. And that's just my take on it. There's something different about reading Superman. Now, I don't know if you're feeling the same way. There's something when that first Lobdell issue came out, it just felt really good. Like it's Superman starting to feel like a heavy hitter again. And that's something that I'm really loving about this.
Oh, God, yeah. Definitely, this is now... Part of me wants to say I'm liking this more than Action Comics, but it's a tough call for me to say that. I'm liking this because of the whole Hell story. I'm liking this because of the action and what we're getting from the story. So it's when it's one of those, like, when we have to pick our favorite Bat title, we always jump around depending on which one I just read. Well, I now am doing that with Superman in Action. When I read the Superman, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the best. Then I'll read in Action. Oh no, oh no. And it's one of those things where it's on an even playing field with Action Comics. This is a powerful, wonderful Superman story that I'm getting. And the fact that it's connected with this whole Hell on Earth crossover event going on makes it, gives it that little edge. Whereas, like, if I had to pick, if Action and Superman came out at the same time, I probably would read Superman first because of the story arc. Now, I agree
with you.
Yeah. So but it's funny, I can't just flat out say this is my favorite Superman title because I do have to recognize that Action's giving me some great stuff as well. So whereas when Action first came out, Action was beating Superman hands down. Well, guess what? There is no hands-down victor in these two. And to be honest, Superman is edging right now because of its stories, because of its involvement in this crossover. So this is something I'm really digging and I'm really loving. So I'm very, very happy as a Superman fan, that I'm getting this type of stuff along with these great Batman stories, these great Aquaman stories. I got the whole, Green families, kicking it up a notch with the Third Army, and now Superman's, on that same level, that all these other stories are at. I'm giddy with excitement over everything that's going on, and the fact that Superman title is saying yes, it's something that I'm so happy that I'm getting now.
It's not a knock, because I get what you're saying. We have this discussion a lot of times. What's your favorite Bat title? And I, books like Detective Comics, for example, I look to that has stepped up, benefited from a creative change. We got the same thing, Batman and Robin has been one of those, Batman to me, it's the Scott Snyder book is the flagship title, right? And you could argue that it's been Action Comics has been that same book. We always talk about this, though, but what about that issue of Batman and Robin? And that's where it makes it very hard to make a distinction between the two. And I think we're getting the same thing here between these two titles, and I'm glad to see that. Like, I'm excited for Man of Steel when it comes up, because it's going to be kind of like what's going on with Batman Detective. You throw Batman Inc. and all that. You're getting more of these Superman titles that are heavy hitters, that are having things going on. Action Comics needs to keep that same momentum, and it's been. This is something that I'm really digging about the Superman world. And this is a character, Superman to me is a character who has always been incredibly interesting to me. My favorite writers that have come on to Superman have been ones that have recognized how cool it is to get to know Clark. We're doing that in these issues. I love the bits where, like, Supergirl, we see that transition from Supergirl showing up on the scene.
Yeah.
And I really loved seeing when she came in and Clark had to do some tap dancing because he's having this discussion with Lois. And this is a hard position to be in. He's got a relationship with Wonder Woman, but there's clearly that part of him that's jealous of her relationship. And this is somebody who's been a friend to him. She considers him a friend. When you're a male and a female in a friendship like this, and the other one's moving on into this relationship where they're moving in with somebody, that relationship's going to change. It isn't going to be the same. And that's not a negative thing. It's just her life is going to become more filled by this new guy that she's living with. And there's not going to be that room for that male friend on the same level that they were when they were both single, for example. And you enter into that weird bit where it's like, well, we've been friends together for all this time, and it was almost like we were dating, even though we weren't, And now we've got this part where there's boundaries that have not been there previously because you have this relationship. I loved how there was so much being said in that moment. And there was a jealousy on both sides. And some of it, like, are things that she doesn't understand because Clark's got a relationship going on. She's been doing her reporter thing even more than... And arguably, her reporting skills were a little better than Clark on this one because Clark was using his superpowers to find out what was going on with her. She caught on to his mood change and recognized that things have been going on really well in his life and that he's really happy again, and assumed that it was somebody else who she turns out thinks is a cosplayer, which was really, really funny because I think there's a relevance. That's today's world, right?
Oh, yeah.
So thought it was a cosplayer, which leads him to that great discussion with Kara. And I love that. This is stuff that, to me, fits the whole Superman world, the narrow escape. You get why, with the way Clark is, people wouldn't assume that he's Superman. And I think that's something that duality has been crafted very well here. I get that she's not thinking for a second, that's the real Supergirl, and this is Superman. The cosplayer thing actually makes more sense with it being Clark and the fact that he's going through this crazy midlife crisis, that he's throwing away his job and he's doing this whole thing that he's got going on. Human interest. It fits Clark. I really like that.
Oh, God, yeah. And this opening sequence with Lois was something that really had me. I was like, this is outstanding because not only do we get this cool inner dialogue and just you get the insight into Clark's mind. I loved how the whole this page ended with no matter how many times he lays eyes on her, even as he does here with his X-ray vision, he's always taken back at the realization that Lois Lane is the most amazing woman he has ever met. And right there, that just had me cheering and hooping and hollering because I'm a big fan of the Lois and Clark relationship and where everything can go. And you have this moment, and it was something that kind of clicked in my head when I read that page, when I read those couple dialogue boxes. I think I know how the Superman Wonder Woman relationship is going to end. My opinion is Wonder Woman is going to see one moment where Clark is looking at Lois, and she's going to recognize that's right there is the woman that he loves. That is his love. And I can just, it's going to be one of those just moments where it's going to be boom. It's like, this is who you should be with. This is your destiny. I can't interfere in this. And she's going to step down. She's going to step back. And I think that's how we're not going to lose the Trinity. We're not going to have this, because I was worried we're going to get some type of turmoil or some type of craziness or some type of hecticness, but I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get just that, and she's going to see that one moment, that flash in his eye, that that realization that he's saying here, that Lois Lane is the most amazing woman he has ever met. She's going to see that in his eye when she sees the two of them together, and I think that's going to be kind of a whoa kind of moment for her. And that's my guess, and that's my opinion. I hope that's how it plays out, because I want a positive end to their relationship. I don't want it immediately. I do enjoy those two together. I enjoy just the again, we get to see a human side of Wonder Woman. We're getting to see the human side of Clark in their relationship. But I do want to see Lois and Clark together. I do want to see that relationship grow, and I want to see that birth, the turbulence of the relationship, when she realizes he's Superman, when she accepts the fact that he's Superman, and then eventual marriage and happily ever after, and just everything that is so cool with these two together.
I don't want to see it rushed into ending Wonder Woman and Superman, because I think the relationship is incredibly interesting right now. So I want that to last. I would like it to, when it does, if it does, see, boy, what if it goes the other route and he realizes he lies with Wonder Woman? Like, he goes, man, I'm dating Wonder Woman. I don't know. I'm with you. I'm very torn now in a way that I didn't expect to be, because I really like what's going on with Wonder Woman and Superman right now. I'm with you that I would like to see it end in a way. I think Wonder Woman's compassion could be something that would recognize that. I don't want to see that soon, though, because I think right now it's far too interesting right now.
I want this to take some time. I don't want it to end in issue 16. I want there to be the long play. I want to see them, kind of develop and grow. And right now, the League, kind of doesn't know, even though I'm assuming Batman knows because he knows everything, and we know Cyborg knows just because Cyborg's wired into everything he has to know. But I'd like to see just that public declaration of those two to the rest of the League and to other heroes, and just see how that plays out. I think there's going to be some cool moments in costume and out of costume.
I liked when they first showed the apartment. I know I'm jumping back real quick. In the background, and I love these tiny details, the tractor that was on the wall. He had Clark had his decorations there. It looked like a Daily Planet trophy or statue. A picture up on top that looks like it's probably his family. I liked seeing that there was some personality to the apartment that was clearly Clark's in Jimmy's mess. And there was something about that I just found kind of charming, that there is a home there, and that's his chance to be the farm boy. I don't know, something that I just really, really liked. Then when Hell shows up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to echo your sentiments on that. And this is, again, artwork. This is absolutely just another beautiful issue.
Yeah.
And these are 3 titles that 3 different art teams, they have their own style, their own personal flow, but they read really well together. They complement each other on the different titles. And I think that's, again, a nice, I don't know if it's just a happy accident or if they intentionally said, these creative teams will, mesh well together. I could see them taking this full Hell story, combining it in one, title, and going from title to title to title, and not being jarring for you.
Well, we're doing that, and I'm with you. It is not jarring. I liked when Hell showed up on the scene.
Yeah.
And he comes in almost as this majestic savior, the way he's trying to present himself. And like the long-lost brother, and here I want to seek you out, and, let's be friends, and, let me explain. I'll tell you about my history and backstory, and what your father did, and how I went on these missions, and I'm going to prove to you that I am the one who's connected to your home planet, the place you came from, and you should really care about your heritage and be a part of us. And he's really pleading and hoping, because this plan of his would be much easier with both of them. And it isn't until things turn sour that he starts to change, where we see him manipulating situations. Because in the previous part of it, he really was trying to plead with Clark and try to play off of the sense of family, that idea and that concept, until, of course, he's threatening to kill Superboy. And that's where we see the distinct difference between the two of them. Clark is now being the responsible one who's really laying out some facts for Kara, saying, hey, you aren't looking at the whole picture here, what this guy's saying. You're drinking his Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to poke holes in his story. And to me, in any situation, if you can look at it objectively and poke holes in something, but then still come to the conclusion that that's the best decision to make, you're making a responsible decision. If you're ignoring the holes, because every situation has them. Every situation has pros and cons. Every situation has those things. She's not willing to see the cons. She only wants to see the pros. When you start displaying the cons, if she's saying, don't ruin this for me, because she doesn't want to see them, that means she doesn't have the 100% conviction that she's saying she does. Which leads me to believe that Kara's eventually going to see this for what it is. And I see her turning on Hell when the time's right. I do see her going on the side of the angels very quickly. And I think it's that protesting too much that she's doing that has me convinced that's exactly where this is going to go.
Oh, definitely. She's definitely one. She's going to realize the deception. She's going to realize, what's going on. But I think even before that, I think when she's going to be eventually presented with the fact that to power, this time travel, to actually do what they want to do, we're going to destroy this planet. And I think that's going to be the moment where she's like, hey, this isn't right. We can't, they're not perfect. Yeah, these humans are flawed and, they're a bit messy and whatnot. But we can't just destroy a full race just, for this. This isn't right. This is not the right thing to do, even for Krypton. I can't let this happen. I think that's going to be the moment where, and as soon as she doesn't completely go along with him, as soon as she doesn't completely drink the Kool-Aid, that's when she's going to see the dark side of Hell. She's going to see him lash out, and she's going to see that, okay, this isn't Prince Charming, this is a villain. This is a bad guy. I have to put him down now. And I think that's going to be, again, more gelling and more linchpin, more growth of this super family.
Hell sent the dragon to confront him. Was that to test the powers? Why do you think he did that?
Probably test the powers, but he's been watching Superman. He's been watching all of them, so he got a pretty good idea how strong they are. I think that was more of a you really need to see somebody in battle. You need to see somebody fighting. You need to see someone facing a life or death circumstance to really get a good feeling of who they are. I think that was just a kind of not even a test, but more of just one last piece of assessment of who they are and who he is.
I like when we have that part where Hell finally turns into Clark and says, okay, if I'm not going to be able to put him on our team, I'm going to make sure he can't put Supergirl on his.
Yeah.
And I'm going to really make sure that she doesn't have a chance to talk to him. And let me make sure to subdue him, get him out of this whole situation before, she starts to turn on me, because I need some Kryptonian here.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, some of the plans that he has are things, because he said he couldn't go into the Bottle City, right? Wasn't that one of the issues?
Yeah, he could not change his body down to go actually in there to get the power source.
So that to me is another clue of there's something wrong with this guy. There's something off, something going on. Do you think Superboy could go in there?
I don't know. I'm leaning towards the fact that probably not. I'm thinking it's pure Kryptonian would have been the only way to go. That would have been the only one who could have gone in there and who could have actually gotten the crystal.
Is this guy? I guess you're taking it for sure that this guy's pure Kryptonian. Like I don't know now that I believe that this guy that there's anything.
I still think he's pure Kryptonian clone.
Okay.
I think he's a pure Kryptonian clone. He's got no mix of and whatnot.
Yeah, well, no, you don't want any and whatnot in you because that'll really throw you off. I think that's like they'll call you worse than an abomination. I don't know. This is a very compelling story because of all the questions. When we get into the Superboy issue and we really start seeing Superboy and Superman having to deal with each other, going to the fortress and Clark analyzing him on a genetic level and what's going on there, the 3 separate DNA strands. Clark having to make the decision to take off his suit of armor, to put it on this kid. Now, keep in mind that he's sticking with the kid because he wants to make sure he gets his suit of armor back eventually, because he's giving that up. I love how he's recognizing, that this is a life and I've got to save it. I would have a lot of trouble if we had really clones knowing how to handle that. You know what I mean? Because there is a creep factor to it. Like, he's there with a clone that he's clear is from his DNA. So he knows that now. And he's not quite sure how this suit's going to react to him or what it's going to do, but it does stabilize Khan enough to, let him be up around, moving again. But it has an interesting side effect that some of his powers don't work right anymore. And yet, it seems others are enhanced.
Yeah, and I think it's the Kryptonian armor is strengthening that Kryptonian side of his DNA.
Yeah.
And it's, that's part of the, and I like the fact that Khan doesn't like that. He's like, I am my own person, I'm not you. The tactile, the TK powers are not just the simple telekinetics. He uses that as his vision, as his super sight and super senses. It's more than just a telekinetic type powers. There's he's developed it and he's used to it, and that's who he is, and he just got it completely cut off. I loved seeing Connor's reaction, and then eventually even his acceptance. Okay, I need to change around the way I'm doing things because of the fact that if I don't, I'm going to die. And this was, again, some cool Superman moments where, even in the last issue with the, when Clark's, telling Kara, hey, watch after the boy. It's like the clone, the boy. Clark is sitting there, there still is that Superman side of him that this is a life. Yeah, there is going to be a creep factor. There is going to be a curiosity. What is Superboy? Where is he about? Where is he from? There is that mystery. But to Clark, this is still a life, and this is something that he holds sacred. And I love seeing him fight on to keep this kid alive, to defend this kid and protect him, and do what needs to be done to help him. These are classic Superman moments. Yeah, it's funny seeing Connor say, a little bit of a jerk sometimes, but there is that, there is just this moments between the two of them that has me excited.
I got to tell you, one of the things that I really liked, I geeked out at the moment when the suit went around Connor. It took me back to, as a kid, I geeked out over the fact that Superman and Superboy could team up. This is his younger self, and we get to see them together, through various different mechanisms that they put in the wacky world of Superman. I used to love and geek out at that stuff as a kid growing up. So when we got to see him in the armor, there was something cool about seeing the two of them together with him in the armor. It took me back to those moments that I really love. So I'm glad that they chose to go that route to heal him, because I think it led to an ultra geeky moment that I really enjoyed.
I've always liked the red and black, and just especially the new Connor costume. I like it, and I think it's kind of cool. But there was something seeing him in the blue and the red, seeing him in a classic Superman. Well, not so classic, but just that seeing him in the Superman colors. That I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I was happy to see that. I don't want him permanently to adopt the red and blue.
No.
It was a kind of a cool moment. That we're both on the same page here. I know. So it is just something I was like, that's kind of neat.
Well, see, I geeked out just as much seeing him in the red and black T-shirt in recent issues.
Yeah.
Of his appearances. It was great to see him in that, and I'm glad that that's something that we're going to see him from time to time don. Because I like that part of Connor as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they brought that back into the mythos. That's a part of him too, and it should be. It's at this moment I think there's a cool way to do geeky stuff that honors stuff that they know fans have loved about these characters, to show them, yeah, sure, we did a new reboot with this New 52, but that doesn't mean that, like, the things that you know and love about these characters have to go away. We can still do these things and still present these moments that you're into. And that was one of those moments that really hit for me into what I think is kind of classic about DC, the fact that these characters can be together because they're clones in this case.
Yeah, I'd like to see Connor get a Kryptonian battle armor, or get the traditional, more traditional Kryptonian, styling. Or, especially if they're going to go to Krypton, I'd like to see him come back with something, because we got Kara has the Kryptonian outfit, we got Clark with the battle armor, Connor still has the red and black that he got from the culling and
Harvest,
all that. So
Harvest.
It's part of me wants to see Connor come back with something different.
I'm torn on that, because if he comes back with something different, isn't he going to come back with what he's wearing right now? I mean, wouldn't it be similar?
Maybe something similar, but maybe something more his style. But I don't know. Just something. Part of me thinks would be kind of neat if he came back with his own Kryptonian. Kind of one of those acceptance by Clark, acceptance by Kara, saying, you know what, you've earned this. This is the traditional Kryptonian garb that you get at your ascension, at your naming, at your culture. I'd like to see kind of that moment of acceptance.
But couldn't they do that in his current costume and say that you've owned the right to wear that symbol?
Oh, definitely. They definitely could do that as well. So if it doesn't happen, I'd be fine with it. There's just something, I think that'd be kind of a neat gesture, especially coming from Kara, because he's only referred to him as the Abomination. I would like to see her kind of have that recognition of saying you are a member of the House of El. And her recognition and acceptance of him. I think it'd be one of those kind of cool moments that I'd like to see.
I want to see it too, but I guess I like the distinction of his suit being different. So whatever happens, like if it were to go that route, I don't want to see him donning an outfit like it geeked me. It was a geek out moment seeing him don that. But I always liked the red and black shirt, the t-shirt, and jeans look. And I know it's kind of a strange thing to say, that being his uniform, but I liked that. I was glad to see that come back. I like his suit from the culling. I'm not against him getting a different suit along the way, but I'm with you. I want it to be in his style. I want it to be something unique if they go that route. Otherwise, I'm very happy with him keeping the suit that he's got now and being acknowledged for keeping the symbol, which we're basically saying the same thing there.
Yeah.
It's just something that I really like about it. The lashing out that he does with Clark is something that I'm really, really enjoying, because this is something that's been building over time, and I don't think he can put a finger on the reason why he feels this way. And that's something that I'm loving. He's lashing out at Superman for more than his frustration over current events. He's lashing out for something else. I don't know, it was just something that I really liked, because we know that he's been brainwashed by Harvest. He's seen Superman really do horrible things to him in this brainwashing. And that was something I don't know, I thought it was neat. I really
I like the fact that they did throw a quick editor's note, and they're commenting on that there is, the Zero issue, Superboy, you'll see why Superman gives him the heebie-jeebies. I like the fact that was a great usage of an editor note, that just throwing it out there, because who knows, maybe people aren't getting the full story. There may be somebody who jumped on this who's really just a Superman reader who never got Superboy. Well, here, let's throw this out so there's a reasoning behind this action. There's not just this kid being a kid or this kid being a bratty kid. No, there's a reasoning. He's had some stuff happen with his brain. They've messed with him, that he doesn't trust Clark because of that. It's not just these circumstances playing here. And there was a quick note, and it was a quick comment, and it was something that was again, good usage of editor notes.
Yeah, and I think when you do these crossovers, you need that as well. This is one of the first, we're seeing this and in a couple other, I think with that Hawkman crossover that's going on, we're seeing books that are kind of leading into each other. We haven't seen this a whole lot from the New 52. crossovers like this. A lot of times they've been crossovers that have been kind of echoing each other or telling side stories to these events. I like when they were at the fortress that Hell shows up and sees these two teaming up going, nah, it's quite a fortress, Cal. I think I'll take it. Because he really needs... And I didn't understand what his end game was there until we do see the next issue of Supergirl. And we'll have to talk about that in a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah. Again, how the heck does he have these power levels? That's what I was just like... It does amaze me that he's able to throw down. And in the Superman issue, there's some cool Lex moments where he kind of calls him on it. And I love the fact that, there is this character that what's going to happen? How can Superman deal with this? How can they all deal with this? What are they going to have to do to win? How do they, power this guy down? And how do they understand the powers? It could just be a lot of mind games. It could just be a lot of manipulation. He may not have this raw power. It may be something as simple as once they figure out X, everything falls apart. There may just be that one little piece that they're missing, that they're not that hasn't clicked in yet, that once they figure it out, they'll be able to take him down. His version of kryptonite, if you will. Who knows what Hell's weakness is? Once they identify it, once they break down what this character's about, there may be something out there that they could use against him. And I'm looking forward to those moments. I'm looking forward to the battle. I'm looking forward to the growth and development into that battle. And it's something that I'm really, really enjoying from this series, from this event that every issue, it's slowly growing. Every issue, we're getting a little bit more piece of the puzzle, but there's still more mystery out there. There's still more stuff to be solved. And it's been a real excitement and a true enjoyment of the overall story. I loved going back through and rereading all these issues again just to get ready for this recording, because I was like, one after another, boom, 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 boom. This is an absolute fabulous story.
Yeah. That's something that I've really, really enjoyed, has been with having the multiple issues each month, with the story continuing into each other, it feels epic. It feels big. And I was ready for this in the Superman books. I wanted to start feeling something that feels epic. And I've been enjoying immensely the very cool stuff going on in action. And I really do firmly feel that you could not have done this event a couple months after the New 52 launched. You really needed to establish these characters. So the move and the way that they've been handling things with Superman, I think, has been really great. You've got to really build it over a little bit of time. I'm really ready at this point for this. I want this to lead into very cool things with Man of Steel. This is the kind of Superman storytelling I want to be reading, and I think this is really great. And Superboy and Supergirl were two titles that, it's funny, I'll go out on a limb and say this, I was more into the Superboy and Supergirl book than I was into Superman, the Superman book. Not action, the Superman book. Now, these books are very much on equal footing. I'm really digging the whole relationship between them. And I would love to see them continue this type of storytelling with them. The only thing is, I don't want it to be forced. I want it to be organic like this, where it just kind of fits nicely with the storyline. I'm glad to hear that editorial these books are going to be... Obviously, we know that they're going to Krypton, right?
Yeah, we saw it in the 1-0 issue that they're on Krypton somehow. Now, I'm assuming it's not going to be at the expense of the destruction of Earth, right, but they're going to be there eventually. Somehow they're getting there.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's going to be to determine whether or not what Hell's suggesting is something they should do.
Or it could be they have to go there to stop Hell. It could be could be one of those situations where they go there to stop Hell, even though they know it's going to end. It ends with the destruction of Krypton, but they have to do this, and it's there's so many different ways this thing can play out, and I'm like, I want to know now. I
want to see Supergirl have an epilogue to what she knows about what happened, like the stuff that we haven't seen that happened off camera between her dad and her mom.
Yeah.
Because there's a story to be told there, and I think it's going to have a huge impact on who Supergirl is after the story. And I want to see her have that opportunity. And I can't wait for that. Which is really, that's what I'm saying. I think this needed to be developed over time. because we're at a point right now where we know enough about them that we're ready to start seeing some of these play out and pay off. And they're really doing, this is another great example of good pacing. This has some really solid pacing.
Yeah. There's three things I want to see.
Okay.
And I'm hoping we get all three. One, I already said, is I want Kara, recognition and acceptance of Khan as a member of the House of El. Two, I want to see Kal-El and his parents have that moment where, hi, Mom, hi, Dad. I want to have that face-to-face where they see their adult child and he lived. And they get that, just that moment of, and even if it's right after they launch the rocket or right before they launch it, I want to have that moment where just you see them just, being able to actually, kind of hug his parents and say, hey, I'm fine, I'm alive, it worked, don't worry about me. Everything's going to be okay. I want to have that moment. And the other one I do want to have is I want Kara to have closure with her parents and her family. And I want her to have that same type of just face-to-face meeting and discussion and just moment. Because I think if she gets that closure, when she comes back to Earth, she'll be in a better spot. And and it's more of my concern for her as someone who I think she's a really cool person, on the inside. And I think that's something that would help her, in life and help her grow and just become, have a more enjoyable experience here on Earth. And I think those are the things I'd like to see happen. I don't know if they'll happen, but that's just something, I kind of I would like to, for my friends here, to actually have these good, positive moments.
Spinning with great speed, the Flash creates a protective vacuum around himself.
I'm looking at the cover for Supergirl number 15, and you see Hell on it with the backwards S. I'm still convinced that that's a tease that he's Bizarro. That's the part where I keep going back to Bizarro. And I'm not, maybe I'm wrong on that. That's always where it pulls me back into maybe it's him. It's the new version of Bizarro. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, it's something that I'm like, I would be okay with him being Bizarro as long as we don't lose Hell.
Or one of many.
Use that character.
Remember, the Bizarro concept originally, when they started expanding on it, there was many Bizarro clones.
Right.
So what if, he's one of them. Not, so
right,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know how this is going to be very, very interesting. I really like the opening of this when we got to see her with her friend. This Tally.
Yeah.
Because to me, those are moments where I need more of those with Kara, because that builds this sense of you get her and you get why she misses this world so much. And I think that's been a nice twist. I don't want to sound like I'm knocking what they did with Supergirl last time around when they originally introduced her. I actually liked the bratty kid from back then. But I didn't want to see the problem with that was she was also unlikable at certain times. Kind of the way we talk about Damian. She had that kind of quality about her, and then she gradually grew on you, and that became interesting. I didn't want to see her go back to that, though, because that had already been done, and I think that played out. So this time around, I didn't mind having this girl who's she's really the alien the strange visitor from another planet. Clark is the kid that was adopted from another planet. He doesn't have the connection that she does, and she's right to show that. And there's something about that dialogue when she's talking about that, and we get to see her with her friend and, talking about how, you kissed a boy even though you haven't been matched and that type of thing, but she'd done it too. There's something about that whole relationship that makes her endearing to me. And I really enjoy those moments where I feel like I understand her as a character. Because I've been, since a kid, a Supergirl geek. I really love the character. It's something now, seeing her today have that kind of modern, trendy feel to her again for a new generation, but not losing what I like about her. I think it's just really interesting. I think she's a cool character. She's very smart. I want to see the continued development of her. I like that I like her right now. There's not an issue where when I read her, even when she's combating Superman, where I have ever had this point where I'm like, I just really don't like her at the moment. I like her consistently all the way through this entire series. I think this has been a very successful relaunch of the character.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about this opening sequence. It was something that third read through, there was a couple of stuff that I really especially appreciated when she's talking to her friend about kissing the boy not being matched. Kara has that great line, believe me, I'm not kissing anyone again until there's a real connection. And then, of course, at the end of this issue, we see her and Hell kiss. So, it was something that kind of, when I went back through and read it through the second time, I was like, oh, man, yeah, okay, so it even adds more to the impact and the power of that kiss that, she and Hell have, that she's really starting to get, he's really starting to get her. He's really starting to pull her in, and getting her to trust him and believe him because of, we're seeing this side of her. We're seeing this, this kid side of her, this, fun kid, and, the issue, the scene when she's about to hit the light bridge. I loved the art sequence with the look on her face, that kind of look on her face as she's barely misses it. This opening sequence, again, wonderful opening, great way to drop you into the past, introduce another character, introduce some more concepts that's going to play big later on.
Yeah, and there's definitely stuff that's being set up here that is going to play out later. I'm very curious for Kandor. Like, I've always loved the concept of the Bottle City and that Superman and Supergirl could visit it and those type of things. And I hope they reintroduce that concept as being a living, thriving community. I would like to see that come out of this. That Superman's constantly trying to find a way to restore it, but there's also adventures. I want to see adventures in the Bottled City. I don't know if you're into that, but I definitely would love to see that.
I'm actually into that. I'd like to see that, and I would like for them to, this could be the beginning of that linchpin. This could be the beginning of that story arc. I hope we don't lose Kandor by her pulling out the power, gem, the power crystal from there. I hope we don't, especially considering her friend is there. And she gets that moment where she gets to see her friend in that suspended animation. I'd love for that city to become a thriving city again, especially that connection for her. She could go back and visit her friend. It would be another neat story for Kara, a nice, neat way of the character, again, more character growth, character development, and plus also give Clark a chance to interact with other Kryptonians, which I think would be very, kind of interesting and fascinating.
I find it interesting when Clark's been booted from there because of the defenses of the fortress. He can't get back in, so he has to find a way to break into the fortress. And that whole setup, I like that it's played out. We get to see little teases. That's one of the things that's been great about this being a crossover and how they've handled it. Even though they focus on, because it's a Supergirl book, this is more of a Supergirl focus, this issue, they never forget to remind us what's going on with the other characters. That's really been one of the keys, because I really feel like this is another issue of Supergirl, and it's furthering her development, and the focus is great, and it's the same voice that I normally expect from Supergirl. That's well handled. What makes it a really good crossover issue is it establishes where these other characters are, goes back to focusing on her, keeps us running in the loop, excited for the next issue where we're going to find out what's happening to Superboy and Superman. That was something I geeked out over. I thought it was really, really well done, and good choices, and kudos to the creative team for being able to pull that off, because I think it's hard to do a crossover and make sure you don't lose a character in it. And I don't feel like any of these three have been lost in this crossover.
Oh, amen. Amen on that. And again, you definitely know whose title it is. This is definitely a solid Supergirl story, but we can't forget the other pieces. And there is that same connection, how we had that great sequence when it went from Supergirl to Superman, the last time, where it was that flow through where she first appears on scene. It was that whole cosplay, moments that we had in the Superman title in the last issue. Well, we kind of have those same type of connections, crossovers, and flow-throughs in this, where last issue they got booted out. Well, here we're seeing them in the ice storm, outside the Fortress of Solitude. Same thing's going to happen next issue with them, continuing on from that. I really enjoyed that. It's again that universal feel of this event, of this crossover, of this story arc.
And that's something that was really, really important to me, that, it had that universal flow. I love the way you put that, because I agree. I think there's an appeal here that's really, really important. I liked seeing Hell in his original form.
Yeah.
And that he's projecting that really for the purpose of, I think, comforting her and reminding him, I think selling her on the fact that this is about saving home. Look, I'm one of you. I'm one of them. I need you to do this thing of pulling out this crystal because it's really important for us to go back and allow these people to live those lives that were cut short. Put them in suspended animation, whatever, but the rest of Krypton as well. He's really playing the manipulation game really well.
Yeah. Oh, big time. This is, again, he's a master manipulator. He's doing a great job of, tweaking, and just playing with her emotions and just, this is, take her home, but don't take her home. She's back and she's on Kandor. She's around these Kryptonians, but they're all in this suspended animation. They're all in this creepy state of, we could save these people as well. We'll save Krypton. We'll save Kandor. We'll do all this wonderful stuff. Your friends, your family, your loved ones, everything will be great. And he's promising her the world, and it all looks like it's possible to happen. This is like, I would see why she would trust this guy. Completely, he's playing a wonderful game here.
Yeah, and she's totally buying into it. And I don't know that I wouldn't. When you're talking about it's your world and you've got somebody who finally, this is the closest thing she's had to validation of her feelings, validation of who she is, validation that home is something to remember. But he's also trying to give her back that thing that he's been missing. The thing she's trying to get back, I should say, that thing that she's been missing, that sense of belonging. She thought like she would find that with her cousin, but he doesn't get it. He doesn't remember her world. And that's got to be very hard for her, for to look to this cousin, this family member. They don't have memories together except for him as an infant. Yeah. So it's not like coming across that family member where you can reminisce. He doesn't have those emotional connections that she does. This is the first person. I liked the distinction that when she was in the bottle, his voice changed for this hell.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where I'm talking about where, she's finally found that thing that she's been missing in the bottle. She's willing to let it go that his voice was different when she was out of the bottle.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, well, see, now there is some validation to what I believe in him and all that. She's buying into the illusion. She's really crafting this guy to be something that he's clearly not. I think she knows it because I think she's convincing herself, and I think she knows it deep down at her core. And I think she's going to be an easy one to sway back when she really realizes what's going on, because I think something feels off. She can't say what it is, because when you're acknowledging that his voice has changed to sound more Kryptonian now, that means part of her's realizing he sounds like something else, if that makes sense. If he really came from Krypton, why is he just now sounding Kryptonian?
Yeah, again, yeah. Because it was funny, I was buying right into with the same story she was, that now he's back to his more original form, or he's back to this form, so there's going to be a change to it. But yeah, it does add to who and what is he. He's not a pure Kryptonian. There's no way he's pure Kryptonian. That's why I keep going back. I hold on to that clone thing, but even that he may not even be a clone. He may be something different. He may be a different version of the clone. Maybe he's a clone of Kryptonian DNA and another race, or maybe he's some type of crazy experiment gone awry. That the House of L was working on. You never know who or what this guy is, and I think that's. Again, it's more of the cool excitement, curiosity as to what and who he is. Yeah,
and that's something that I'm really enjoying. I like that I don't know.
Yeah, mystery is awesome.
Yeah, and I like that there's clues, though. And there aren't clues that, spell it out for you. They're clues that make you question and form your own judgments, recognizing that it just may not play out. I'm cool with that. I'm having a lot of fun reading this right now and just digging into the mystery. I love with the robots when I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Did you have something?
I was actually about to go the exact same route you're going.
Go ahead.
Well, just the Terminauts, that they introduced, and it would make sense that there would still be that Brainiac presence still in there, keeping everything going, keeping the suspended animation, the continual existence of it, and the fact when they introduced it, and then when just seeing her do the battle with it again, it was a much needed part of the story. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm loving this whole the mystery behind it, and seeing the human side, the Kryptonian side of her, and just that personal side of her. I'm loving that stuff. But I do like it in my comics when I do get to see them, flex a little bit of super muscle and break some stuff. And we get that in her just unleashing on these robots, especially after she sees her friend. I loved that moment of where she just really just bright red eyes, super heat vision, frying a lot of machines. I was like, yes!
I like that they were one-upping her until that.
Yeah.
Like, that was something really special for me. Because, that moment where she see the red eyes, she's finally found her friend now, and she realizes, I've got to step up right now. This is a moment for me to do, this is my friend. This is my friend I never thought I would see again. It builds up a hope, it builds up a rage, it builds up a protective nature, it builds up all kinds of emotions that she's now channeling and letting out, and there's a power and a strength to her in that moment, and it's something I've always liked about Supergirl. I love when we see these moments. You can see the soft side of her and things like that, but boy, when she unleashes, that was absolutely terrific. No matter what it takes. I'm going to keep going no matter what it takes. And see, that's something... you always say with the Superman characters that, they've got these superpowers and all that stuff. It's in those moments where you see them get that one last dig deep in that one burst of energy. You've got to have them have threats that can put them through the ringer. There's something very awesome about that. Those threats that put them through the ringer and give them that, that really just makes me... And then we see when, you were incredible, Kara. With the terminals out of the way, we can finally get what we came for. If we're going to travel back in time, we need a power source greater than any we can find on Earth, except here, inside Kandor Central Power Station. I'm with you. I'm very worried about what this means.
Yeah, because and I like the fact she does acknowledge, hey, isn't this don't they need this? Oh no, don't worry. We'll go back. Kandor will be fine. It'll be back on a living Krypton. None of this would have occurred. Right. And it makes sense. If they're going to fix everything, if they're going back to before the destruction, it's that whole time travel paradox type of deal. And again, more part of his story, more stuff that makes sense, especially because she so wants this. This is something that when you really, really just, this is her family. This is her, friends. This is her society. The existence that she thought was gone forever. Well, she's gonna get that back. She's gonna get this back. All I got to do is just trust this guy and look at him. He's a trustworthy guy. So far everything's been going great. I can trust him.
One of the cool things about that, when that whole sequence is going on, is that he's put her in a position now that she's brought that out, she's got no other choice but to follow this through.
Yeah.
Because let's say that taking the power source off, now we can use that and hold her overhead and say, hey, we already took the power source off. There is no going back. If we go back, the Kandorians die. Your friend dies.
Yeah.
So I think that was a chess move on his part, an insurance policy on his part. Obviously, he needs the power source, but it also works on a twofold level. This is somebody close to her. And saying, yeah, you want to save your friend here on Earth, but what about your friend in the bottle? So that's going to make for an interesting dilemma for her. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And again, just the fact that after she comes out, she can hear the echo of his true voice. And it's that continuation of her, acceptance for this and her desire to have this life, to go back there. And, it's her handling and her story in this has been a really wonderful part of it. I'm digging the Superman stuff. I'm really digging the Superboy stuff, but just her side of it. And it's going to end in heartbreak for her. And that's why I hope she gets that good moment with her parents. But she's everything is just set up for heartbreak on her side just because she's so looking to this, to hell as the savior, as this white knight who's going to ride in and save the day and save Krypton and give me my family back, my loved ones. Everything's going to be perfect. All this hope that she's going to have, and when it comes crashing down, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt bad. And I feel bad for her because it's going to happen, but It's again, part of the her pain will make a wonderful story. I hate to say, I feel terrible saying it about her because you start getting these characters and you start actually thinking of them as your friends, as people who are real people, even though it's just a comic book character. She's not real. There's not an actual character out there who's going to be about to get her heart ripped out of her chest. But these stories, they pull you in. They craft it so well that you start having these emotional responses, and I'm looking forward to the end of the story just because I want to see what happens. Yeah. But I know in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, Jim, get ready for a cry. Get ready for a tearjerker moment because there's no way this could end 100% happy for her.
No, not at all. And that's something I'm having a lot of fun with too. We're going to have to take a look at Superman. And do you have the creative team handy?
Yes, I do. The writer is Scott Lobdell, artist Kenneth Roquefort, colorist Sonny Go, letterer Rob Lay with the Roquefort and Go as cover, Darren Shane as the assistant editor, Eddie Berganza editor, and of course, Superman was created by Cleveland's own Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster.
I want to comment on the cover again because this is a cover that I just really, really enjoyed. I loved seeing the transparent Superman, the reflection of Superman looking on to Luthor's cell. This, to me, is really great because, if you want to believe that Lex Luthor, this human, is a true foil for Superman, you've got to build this kind of thing. Like, you aren't going to put him in a regular jail cell. It just won't work. So Superman's idea, and this is my idea of what I love about Superman, and they're really capturing this here. The Superman that's smart enough to recognize Luthor's brilliance, but also his ego, and using Luthor's ego against him. I convinced him to build his own prison.
Yes.
How cool is that? I love this bit. I was geeking out. Yet you can tell he is intimidated to go visit him. Like, Superman is intimidated by this villain. And there's something about that relationship. It may be intimidated. He respects the abilities of his villains. Probably a better way to put it than intimidated, because he's carrying himself with this usual super confidence that I really like with this Superman. I'm really growing to like the New 52 Superman. It's funny how he's a character that took me a while to get used to and to really like the direction of him. I'm really into the guy now. And recognizing that it's a newer version of him, but seeing at the core that he is what I like about Superman. And these moments with Luthor are really critical for me, where it really is a very Silence of the Lambs kind of thing going on, and I'm really into it. It's cool.
This prison, again, was just... for me, I was so glad that Lex 1 is the only prisoner in there, and just everything that came out. This is a prison worthy of Lex Luthor. And that, for me, was something that you need to have. You need to have something beyond normal, beyond even super normal. This is a Lex-worthy establishment, and that is, you need to have it. This is Lex Luthor. Come on. This is the human equivalency, the human match to Superman. You can't do anything normal with him. And just the level on level of security was absolutely wonderful. And then the fact that once they finally do get through all these different levels and they're face to face with Lex, Lex knows everything that's going on in the outside world. And Clark's like, what? How? You're trapped in here. How can you know all this stuff? How? Because he's Lex Luthor and he's that dang good. I cheered at those moments. I was like, yes, that's Lex.
Yeah, that's something to me that I really enjoyed. There's a classic Lex feel to him. I like that they're doing more with him being a scientist in this, because I like that presence of him. Yeah. I think, that's it again adds some... To me, it adds some strength to why in this world Lex would be so intimidating with Superman. He experiments with things, plays around with them, tries to get to know them. He's not afraid to cross those ethical lines to go after his prey. It's not about him just hiring the scientist. Any scientist that he would hire are ones that he wants to glean the knowledge from to be able to use himself. It's all about increasing his knowledge base. I love that. There's something about this character that's very compelling, and I think he's very intimidating.
Yeah, and he needs to be. And it's the Superboy reactions through all of this have been an absolute wonder for me. Just even in the very beginning when Clark pulls him into the prison cell and the air is filtered with ammonium nitrate. Any human being would be choking, choking to breathe, and his eyes would be bleeding. And Khan's like, "Hey, how'd you know I'm half human? How'd you know I wouldn't, be reacting to it? I didn't. I do now. What? And just see that, Superboy reaction. Then when he first sees Lex, again, seeing the snot-nosed kid kind of like puff out his chest and then immediately recognize, okay, I shouldn't be doing this with this guy. This isn't somebody I can, intimidate and bully. And he even actually goes the smart route and says, hey, what do you know, please? And he actually gives him that level of respect, which was just what Lex needed.
I like Superboy's reaction to Superman walking into the facility.
Yeah.
He's kind of our eyes into the whole thing. I love characters that, make the situation more accessible. Because Superman's carrying himself in a way that none of us ever could. But Superboy's reaction to, man, you are hardcore. And he's like, the boy, he can't go with you. He's with me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Superman. And this should be the character in the DC universe that's doing this. And it's funny. There was that criticism for a long time that Superman was crying an awful lot. This is not if this Superman cries, you're not going to call, and you're not going to call him on it because he's going to knock you. I really like this Superman.
Oh God, yeah, big time.
He's a guy who can pull off the T-shirt and the jeans and the cape, the way he's carrying himself, and he looks just as intimidating. I mean, I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah, I was glad that they did go back to that, but part of me, he needs to have a backup costume just in case, a full suit. But again, you did hit the nail on the head there that he can pull it off. He can pull off the look. He is still Superman, and even when he's dealing with the general on the outside, and just when he's like, hey, I got to go in there now. Like, the military even calls him on it saying, wait a minute, this is why a lot of people don't like you.
Why does he need a backup suit? I'm really acknowledging that you're throwing an interesting comment out there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off in there. It's more I want to go back to something you were saying because I don't want to gloss over it. Because I don't know that I agree with you, but I think you're making an interesting point, and I think there's probably people who probably do agree with you. What are you thinking for a backup suit? Because he acknowledges that that's been the clothes, like he's been wearing that as his everything. It's not just his super suit. He wears that all the time.
I throw out the backup suit just because me and my opinions on costumes and whatnot, and just part of me always would think, hey, you should have more than just one outfit. You should have more than just one clothing, just in case, for this exact reason, where he didn't have he had to give up his, battle armor. Well, he can pull off the T-shirt and jeans, and he still is Superman. But part of me would like to have a more formal costume or something that's not jeans and a T-shirt.
Well, that is his formal costume, and he wouldn't normally give up that because really the only person he thought that would possibly work for is maybe Superboy. I don't see him having when else would he need to do what he's doing with Superboy?
Well, it just who knows down the line. I'm a preparer. I want to make sure you have it. It's like Batman has multiple costumes, multiple suits for different circumstances, different scenarios. I would think you would want to have just one backup costume just in case something happened. Maybe comes across something that destroys his suit. Well, now I can go into this outfit. It's not the same. It's not as good as the other one, but you know what? This will work, for me.
See, I like the idea that he doesn't do that because it's Kryptonian battle armor. He's pretty convinced that that's not going to be a problem. That's what works for me with it. As opposed to Batman suits where I like your Batman comparison, but what the difference with the Batman suits go through a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, they take battle damage.
Right, even though they're armor at this point. This is Kryptonian battle armor. And there's something about that it was funny. For as much as I didn't like the idea at first, I'm defending it now. That tells you how much of a different place I'm in, where I'm like, I'm into this suit. I'm not saying you're like trashy. I don't mean it that way, because I know you're into the suit too. And I get your point. To me, this was his original suit. He has that as a backup because he didn't expect to be in this situation. There's something that fits that I'm kind of like, this makes a whole lot of sense. Why would he, if he's got Kryptonian battle armor, why would he say, I'm going to have my Sunday suit? I just don't.
Sometimes you got to have a different look to you.
Would you leave Kryptonian battle armor lying around to wear your Sunday suit?
I would wear it. I would develop something to wear over the Kryptonian battle armor.
But can't this change and morph the Kryptonian battle armor? Or is it just stuck in that mode?
See, I thought it was just kind of stuck in that mode. Mm-hmm. Where it can shrink down to just the shield, but it doesn't become like a suit and tie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'm taking the battle armor to be.
I don't know why I was under the impression that it changed into stuff. But that could be just my own...
Because we've seen him put on other clothing over it.
Right.
Like if you remember back to the date with him and Wonder Woman, where he takes off and he opens up the shirt and the armor starts,
And how cool is that?
Yeah, so he wears clothing over it. So I would develop like a formal, military dress or, formal garb
for what?
Or something like that.
For what?
I don't know, if you're meeting world leaders or you're doing some charity work or do something, I don't know. What do you need a suit for? Sometimes you want to look a little snazzy.
But you're Superman. I mean, when he's usually donning that, he's not going to, have a power lunch.
I don't know. I think it'd be, sometimes you got to change your look. Sometimes you got to just, let me put on the Sunday best here. I'm gonna have a meeting with the President of the United States.
But wasn't the point of
wearing
this
my regular costume? I'm gonna wear something different so they think, oh, that's his fancy, outfit. That's his special, for foreign dignitaries and important people. It's not his everyday work clothes. Just that kind of thought process is where my mind goes.
Yeah, or they think he's not Superman.
Here's my thought on it. It would be like the full white outfits like we've seen in the movie with the big. He'd still have the big red S on his chest.
Yeah, he doesn't wear that though. That's Jor-El.
Superman look. But I think I don't know. I think it would be kind of a neat way to something neat for him to do. Just to change up the look. And again, as I said, he's meeting a president. He's meeting some king. He's meeting a queen. He's meeting, various important people. It would be neat to have a different look for that. Again, it's the appearance of, hey, I know you're special. Let me put on my special outfit. Even though it wouldn't be any more special than Kryptonian battle armor. I completely understand it, but it's the perception of this. It's the perception by the other people. Oh, okay, Superman's wearing a different outfit. Oh, that looks a little snazzier. Oh, this is his Sunday best. This is his formal outfit.
I dream of Superman beating things up. You dream of Superman in special outfits. All right. Little different focus, but it's all right. To each their own, I say. That's well and fine.
Well, I am the sensei of the whatnot and the tailor for the superhero universe.
It's funny how when you say that, and this is where the discussion gets really geeky, and why I actually stopped, because my issue with that is I think Superman, I always liked the idea that Superman was the kind of guy that looks at everybody as special. So I don't see him wearing a special outfit for certain people. I see him being Superman all the time. That's where, I like that he didn't really have, a special outfit. Even in classic continuity, I don't remember him having a Sunday's best.
No, I don't think he ever did.
And I kind of like that. I like that, when he walked in, I don't know, if I was Superman, me flying in my Superman suit better be enough for you. Because I'm Superman.
Well, it would be enough for us. Heck, if we would just see a blur on the sky, dude, you know what I saw, man? I saw a red blur. That had to be Superman.
Right, that's exactly right.
For us, that's nothing. But I'm just thinking, you think the president? I want to be Superman's PR guy. I want to be the guy who helps him out. I want to be the guy. Hey, you know what, Soup? You do the thing with saving the people. You leave the image up to me. I'm going to make you a star, kid.
The whole debate between him and Luthor, I just thought was absolutely fantastic. I love that we see Luthor doing all these drawings.
Yeah.
And the detail and intricacies, the artwork really stood out for me there, because I'm into that kind of stuff. When, an artist takes the time to really throw in those equations, those formulas, those drawings, things like that. There was something that I just thought was really, really awesome about the whole thing.
Again, it's something that looks believable.
Yes.
This is something futuristic that could never possibly exist. But you know what? It looks realistic to me. It looks believable, especially, and you even mentioned how he's got the equations at the bottom. He's got all the little scientific, mathematical type stuff that I have no idea could even be remotely anything real or is something completely made up. But you know what? It looks very realistic to me. It looks like this is an actual schematic. This is something that would truly work in a super type of universe.
They call themselves the Teen Titans. They're a bunch of guys like me that have banded together to use their superpowers to try and help others our age. So you're telling me you hang out with a bunch of unsupervised superhumans? Well, when you put it like that, I loved in that moment when he's saying it to him, his friends, he's so confident in them, in the way he's describing, and he's right to feel that way. And this is something that's always been an interesting part, I think, of the relationship between the Justice League and the Teen Titans, that the Teen Titans clearly view themselves in a different way than the adults would.
Yes. And that was another cool moment of this Superman and Superboy reactions and interactions. And the first thought that popped in my head is, if Clark mentions, hey, have you guys heard of the Teen Titans? What's Bruce going to say? He's like, yeah, I sent Red Robin to form them.
Yeah.
Because he did. Bruce is the one who assigned, Tim to actually form these Teen Titans. So Bruce knows all about them. And again, that's going to lead to another interesting discussion between Superman and Batman about what are you doing with unsupervised teens? Well, I had Tim there. It's all covered. Red Robin's there. I'm keeping an eye on him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, this whole storyline's been... I love when the Justice League was called in, and we got to see them. I got to tell you, Wonder Woman's outfit, I really love how it's an emphasis on the classic. I will still say I liked the pants version of this. I really did.
Me too. And I enjoy this. I think this is a really cool look, and I have absolutely no issue with it.
No.
But I would have preferred pants.
Yeah, it's funny, when I saw those drawings, that one, for some reason, that outfit really grew on me. And I still like this one. Don't get me... So I'm with you. We're kind of in the same place. I love the sword, the way it is, and that whole look is fantastic. Is it me, or are you now at the point where, like, it feels like Cyborg's a part of the Justice... Like, he doesn't look odd being with them. It looks like he belongs.
Oh, he completely belongs there. And this, right here in their appearance, they pop in, and it's, he's a part of the team. He's a full member of this team. He is one of the Justice League. He fits there, and I'm so happy that this is where he is, and this is who he is, and he's a recognized member of this team, and it's even like he's recognized outside of the hero universe. This is Cyborg. He's a member of the Justice League. It's just like Batman is, Wonder Woman, Flash, and I don't know what Aquaman's status is right now as part of the team. But I loved seeing this, and I loved seeing the comfortability with it, with him there. And I got to tell you, the inner dialogue, she wants to call him her beloved. I love that fact of that the relationship of Superman, Wonder Woman is continuing and is growing, and there is still that, continuation of it, acknowledgement of it, especially because we had that whole stuff with between Lois and Clark, where they're talking about the last issue, where talking about how he's found somebody and how he's even moving on. I thought that, again, just that little panel there, boom, was awesome.
Not just her though. They also acknowledge his feelings. Yeah. He wants to take her in his arms and share with her his trials of the past few hours. Yeah. Like, they want to have that moment of sharing what they've been through together. That's really important, because that's part of a strong relationship. And that's that part of me that, like, this relationship has legs. I mean, it's an interesting, I think it's possible for him to have this love for Lois, but also develop an equal love for Diana. And what happens if that happens?
Now, they do mention that the other league, that their relationship is a secret to the other members of the league, save one.
I think it's Batman.
Well, it's got to be Batman, because he's Batman. But do they know that Batman knows?
Well, that's Wonder Woman's dialogue. Or, well, I guess that isn't anybody's dialogue. That's just a regular narrative dialogue. I don't know.
Could very easily be Save One. They could be referring to Cyborg. Because as I said, Cyborg's connected on all levels to everything.
I thought Batman was the one that figured it out, though. Wasn't there a part where they showed that Batman knew? Not saying that they knew he knew, but we saw that he knew.
Right. Could be. I'm trying to remember. I think...
I vaguely remember that, I think. And I got to admit, I'm remembering it vaguely. I'd love to look back and see if I'm right on that or not. I seem to remember him being inside a vehicle or something like that when there was a dialogue going on.
I think he was in the cave and he saw an image.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
I think he was in the cave looking at the computer and he saw them kissing. He saw the image of them kissing.
Yeah, I seem to remember that. Yeah, I seem to remember that. I don't know. I like with the Flash part. Do you want me to disarm everyone just in case? But then it goes to like Superboy going, well, "Are you like a man Flash? Who would call himself man Flash?"
Well, there's this kid, and
how did you guys know we needed help? It's great stuff. I really love the dialogue on this whole thing. That ending page, Superboy, Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Batman. This is, to me, when you have a universe and you pull in these big geek out characters and have them all have a moment like this. I don't know. This is stuff it takes me back to my childhood. One of the reasons why we keep reading comics is this kind of escapist moment, where you can kind of just geek out and smile and have fun. It gets you uplifted and takes you back into the real world afterwards. I think whether you're a fan of comics or not, obviously everyone listen to this. Why are you listening to this if you're not a fan of comics? But, if you're a fan of this type of material, we read this stuff to get excited and get back into our world. Whether you're somebody going to school, you're taking a night off from your job, whatever you're doing, that you do this kind of thing. These moments are moments I live for because that was cool.
And then next, the assault on the fortress.
Yeah. I want to see who this Oracle is.
Yeah, they're like the cosmic entity known as the Oracle.
Right.
So maybe this is part of the Time Lords or Rip Hunter and that type of...
Time Masters, you mean?
Time Masters, Time Lords, it's all the same.
I thought we saw the Oracle somewhere, or alluding to the Oracle somewhere at some point already. Just hinting at it. I'm not saying that
I'm not sure.
Big thing. That seems familiar to me. Superman stuff is really, really fantastic. Anything else you got?
No, I think we've pretty much covered how awesome it is.
Yeah, definitely.
There it is, going into that tunnel.
Jim, before we wrap up this episode, I want to give a quick shout out. Our buddy Chris Kendall, his brother-in-law, is doing this comic called The Specialist, and it's a Kickstarter campaign. When the Nazi-created occult power Übermenschen, the Allies must harness the power of the atom to create super soldiers of their own. And this has been a webcomic called The Specialist that's been published one page at a time. It's an alternate history take on World War II, in which the Nazis developed superhuman Übermenschen using dark occult powers and eugenics. The Allies respond by harnessing the power of atom to create their own super soldiers, and you get introduced in each chapter, introduced to brand new characters. It's really a cool way to do it. The Kickstarter campaign has pledges as low as $6 in order to get the PDF format of chapters 1 and 2. And it's just a great way, and obviously with each different, you get there's an exclusive print, and there's all kinds of different really cool swag that you can get as you support it even more. Right now it's 27 days left, and they're up to $1,200 of a $3,000 goal. So it's not an unreachable goal for them. So it's a great opportunity to jump on board this, try something new. I've had the opportunity to see the actual print version of Specialist that they've had at conventions. It's a great comic. So this is a cool chance to go to their website, take a look at the Kickstarter campaign. They've got preview pages there, so you can see if it's your cup of tea and something you want to support. It's really, really cool. So consider checking out the Kickstarter campaign for The Specialist and support a friend of the show. Jim, our sponsors this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, remember to check out Action Comics number 18 and the new creative team. $3.99 regularly, 40% off, only $2.39. Remember, they are a digital partner. 5% of those purchases go towards your DCB service order. It's a great way to quickly rack up credit, especially if you're doing a lot of digital purchasing. It's a cool way to get some things for free. Over at InStockTrades.com, remember that 45% off deal, the New Year's resolution, 45% 45% off DC Comics, but they've got deals beyond that. Fables, Volume 18, Cubs in Toyland, $8.49 at that 50% off deal. That's Cubs in Toyland storyline was just wonderful to me. And you're reading Fables in trade format normally, aren't you?
Yes, I am now getting the trades, and well, I'm getting the hardbound, the collected.
Yeah, which is really great. And those hardbound editions are also available on their website, so it's a great opportunity to pick those up in the hardbound version as well. So remember to check those out that way. And Saga and things like that I'm really digging. There's a lot of really cool material available over at In Stock Trades. It's really a candy store when you can go there and anywhere from 40 to 50% off, getting these amazing deals on trades. And remember, orders of $50 or more give you free shipping. So I want to thank them for sponsoring the show. I want to shout out our show voicemail line. We are definitely going to be having voicemails return on our next episode. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype, and those are all available in our show notes and on the website. I want to shout out our Facebook group, our website of ragingbullets.com. I update the show news on the website every single week, and it also goes into our Twitter feed. We're on Google+. There's lots of places you can reach us. But our Facebook group in particular, if you want to participate in the Raging Bullets community, I want to thank all of the wonderful members of the community that are participating there, from fellow podcasters to fans of the show to bloggers to comic creators, anybody who's participating on that site. It's just a great community that has gone beyond the show. Discussions there go beyond the show. So please feel free to shout out anything that you're doing or interested in talking about with our community. Remember, we're all a geek culture community, so we love all this stuff anyway. So feel free to participate, and I want to thank everyone for that. Our next episode, we are going to be joined by special guest, friend of the show, Freddie E. Williams II. And we're going to be talking about his artwork, talk about his work on Green Arrow. We're going to talk about Captain Atom #0. We're going to we've got all kinds of great topics to talk about with him. He's always a wonderful guest, and we're glad that he's coming back on the podcast. So that'll be our next episode. We will see you then.
Bye.
Flying through space and time, 1,000 different lifetimes. Faded for love and loss and incredibly clear sightlines. Swinging your mace around, such a practical outlook. Helping the JSA and occasionally supporting your own book. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see. Hawkman, your plan and what you do to me. Villains are closing in, be they Thanin Guard or Egyptian. Working so hard to thwart you and Hawkgirl's mission. The odds are not on your side, and danger seems to stack up. Things would be so much easier if you would just call for backup.